Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today I have another hot exclusive to show you guys that is dropping today at Caviso, designed by VOX. Does it get much better than that? I tell you, it's always hard to beat a VOX design. Then it's an exclusive with some really cool materials added to it to give it that exclusive touch. And let's take a look at them right now and see just what we're talking about. And these are right here. What we have here is the Caviso exclusive MKM Macro. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on these knives right here. We have an overall length coming in at 6.54 inches, a blade length coming in at 2.87 inches, and a blade width at 1.12 inches. Blade thickness on these guys are a pretty beefy stock coming in at 160 thousandths. This steel you see here is M390, and we are looking at two different blade shapes. Here you have the sheep's foot, and then we also have right here your regular drop point style blade. These are flat grinds with a handle length coming in at 3.67 inches, a handle thickness at 476 thousandths, and a handle width coming in right here, right around 983 thousandths. Now the handle material on this, Nebula Fat Carbon. Gives it a nice patriotic feel while still mixing in that high quality carbon fiber that Fat Carbon spits out on a regular basis. We're looking at a user of obviously right or left hand. We have a weight coming in at 2.33 ounces. As you saw on the back here, these are designed by VOX, and let me tell you, not only do they look like it, even more importantly, they feel like it, and we will talk more about those Ergos here in just a second. Now, price on these guys, we are looking at $169, and that also comes with an exceptionally well... Stop! Hold on a second. Hold the presses. It was just brought to my attention after recording this video that if you want to pick up either one of these blades right here, they are going to be on sale for an introductory price of $149, and that price is going to be good until Friday at midnight, July 29th. So keep that in mind. If you guys want one of these, hop on it now. At $149, that's coming in right around the same price, if not lower than the G10 and micarta variants that are available everywhere. So get yourself a special edition from Caviso for $149, and that price is good until July 29th at midnight on Friday. Back to the review. Sheath that we'll talk about here later in the review. And like I said, these are dropping today. They are available. So if you want to get one, hop on them and act quick, because you never know just how quick exclusives like this will sell out. Now, we'll also do some size comparisons here real quick. And while this is a smaller knife, a smaller fixed blade, it's really not tiny. Let's go in here. We got some folding knives. We have the Kaiser Feist. And then we also have the Civivi Elementum. I think in terms of folders, that's going to give you really everything you need to know. Small knife, but not real small knife. Definitely enough blade to do a lot of EDC tasks with, and there's a lot more than just EDC that ties into these knives here. And let's see, I have a fixed blade here. This is a previous exclusive through Caviso. This is the Viper Burris with some Arctic Storm Fat Carbon. And just to give you a little more of a size comparison, as you can see there. So it's actually bigger than the Burris by just a little. So I think that was worth noting. Now, when we get into these knives here, I think the first thing that hit me when I looked at these was I really like the blade shapes. Both of the blade shapes I find to be very useful and very versatile, very different. You don't have two similar blade shapes here. The sheep's foot and the drop point give you two completely different tip areas of the knife, or tip locations, I guess is a better way to put it, that I think could factor really well into just about anyone's type of EDC, depending on, what you do. You may favor one over the other. And these stocks, these beefy stocks at 160 thousandths, these definitely fall from that Italian knife making mold. And you feel it the moment you get them in hand, just with the jimping and the blade stock thickness and that excellent crowning they do on the spines, as always. Probably my favorite aspect of Italian knives is the crown spine. And when you get into these ones, the crowning on the spine is also just as important as you move down the knife, because you really feel that spine and it works. It's a critical part of the handle of a fixed blade. Especially when you're talking full tank construction. There's some very important elements to the spine that tie in really well with the great ergos on these knives. Now, the edges on these blades are pretty good. They're 25 to 26 thousandths. As you know, usually the thinness behind the edge on Italian knives are a little thicker. But one thing that I think is also important to note is it's one thing for a knife to be thick behind the edge, and it's something completely else for it to just not be sharp. These knives are both very sharp, and when you're talking about sharpness, what makes something sharp? It's not necessarily the thickness right behind the edge. Now, the thickness behind the edge determines maybe how slicey a knife is, along with some other features on a blade, like a full flat grind or an almost full flat grind. But what really makes an edge just sharp is the actual edge, not the behind the edge itself. And these both have pretty nice edges in terms of just being able to cut something and being very sharp. So you're not really losing anything. I mean, no, these aren't razors, but they're not meant to be. I think they're meant to be more of, beefier, heavy use little EDC fixed blades, and that was accomplished very well. Now, going into these handle and ergos, because I wouldn't expect anything less from VOX. You guys know, I've said it before, I hold him to pretty high standards. If I'm putting a VOX design in my hand, I'm going to be very disappointed if I don't thoroughly enjoy the feel in hand. And I am happy to report that these both feel fantastic in hand. And really, the ergos on these knives are about as perfect as they could be for what it is, a smaller fixed blade. And so much of it is this choilish area. It just sits in your hand, and you just wrap your fingers around it, and it is the most comfy little fixed blade. It really does. I was so impressed with the Burris when I originally held this in hand, but the big difference is just where the actual finger cutout is. On the Burris, it's right in the middle, and your middle finger really benefits from that and locks the knife in your hand in one way. But then when you're talking about these macros, it's your index finger that locks into the finger, I would just call this a choil, I guess. Your index finger sits in it so well, and your middle ring and pinky finger just wrap perfectly around the rest of the handle, just enough to be a full four-finger grip. And man, oh man, I don't care if you're a lefty or a righty, these are going to feel fantastic in your hand. And there's more than just the actual design of the handle that makes it feel really good, because that's a huge part, obviously. It's probably the most important part. But another aspect that lines up so well and makes these ergos so hand-hugging is the carbon fiber scales, how they're contoured. These are rounded. But then also the chamfering, the very well done chamfering along the tops of the carbon fiber, and the crowning of the spine. The spine's crowned, the sides are chamfered. Everything meets in not complete unison. Obviously, you can see a little break there between the carbon fiber and the spine of the knife itself, the stock. But when you get it in hand, it just feels all like one, and it is so comfy. Just everything's round, everything's smooth. Really no complaints. The only thing that I maybe would have looked at a little harder is down here where the carbon fiber ends and the lanyard hole begins, or just, the actual tang of the knife ends. Would have been nice to maybe transition that a little better, or maybe find a way to, instead of having the lanyard hole coming this way, maybe having something going on to where it loops a different way. But at the end of the day, it really does still feel great in hand. And this is another knife too, to where I think if you're a lanyard person, this is a perfect knife to put a small lanyard on. One, it's going to help pull the knife from the sheath, but then it's also going to make up for that difference between the drop off from the carbon fiber down to the actual stock of the blade itself, or the handle, the bottom of the handle there. But even as is, it is, there's no hot spots, there's no points. As you can see, everything down here, and these are both the exact same bottoms. I mean, the only difference is really the blade. So just for detail purposes, you look here and everything is super smooth. I mean, there is nothing pokey, there's nothing at an acute angle. Everything is nice and chamfered and just smooth. And I tell you, when you get this knife in hand, you really do feel that, and it's something that you appreciate almost immediately. Because if you're anyone that has other fixed blades, smaller fixed blades, sometimes it's hard for a small fixed blade to feel real good in hand, because the handle dies off before, you know, it dies off somewhere in your hand. So you may have, like, if this was a smaller knife, say you'd have it like right here, and you would feel this pushing in your hand. Having it go all the way to the end of your hand like this, they just feel great. And moving into the actual sheath itself, that is another part that you'll really appreciate with this. And I tell you, we got this sheath right here. And what's really unique about this sheath is it's got a magnet in there. So there's a lot of ways you can carry this sheath. I think the three most useful ways for me, if I was going to be carrying this, which I do plan on carrying one, there's three ways. You can, one, kind of just loop this on your belt and carry it like a regular fixed blade on your belt. Or another thing that I like to do is put the knife in this way and then carry this in your pocket, to where, let's say your pocket's right here, and let's see, I don't have any pants or anything. I've never done the whole pocket visual like some reviewers have done. But you basically just slide it in your pocket like this, to where your pocket hem is coming around. So you won't see any of the full sheath. You'll just see the flap of the sheath coming down over your pocket. And it's a plenty strong magnet to where it'll easily retain itself very well through your pants material in between. Now, it's not going to hold it on tight enough to where you can just pull the knife out. You'll still, if you go the pocket route, which I actually really like, you will have to like put your hand on your leg and kind of just hold it down as you pull the knife out. But it still keeps the knife securely in your pocket, and it's just another nice way to carry it. Sometimes people will find that to be a lot more comfortable than carrying it on your belt, depending on, you know, everybody has a different type of body build. So we all feel things a little differently than others. But just an excellent sheath. And as you would expect with anything Italian made that's leather, the quality and craftsmanship is fantastic. The smell, oh, it smells so good. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a sucker for a very good leather smell. And yeah, just a little bit of aromatherapy there with the leather. Smells great, looks great, very functional. Another nice thing that I like about this is it would make for a nice little backpacking piece. If you're into some hiking, this would be another really good option as a backpacking accomplice to carry with you to take on any small cutting tasks, or even any medium-sized cutting tasks as you go through your hike, your trip, your camp, whatever you're doing, because there is still a lot of blade here that can really put in some good work. And overall, what you have here is just, in my opinion, an excellent offering of a small fixed blade knife, whether you want to EDC it or whether you want to just, designate it as a little camping knife or whatever you want to do with it. I really think it can live up to the task of just about anything you want to throw at it, and having the two options for the blade shapes and just the overall quality and fit and finish. Very, very happy with these two. MKM and Viper and a lot of those Italian companies over there, they're making some really good knives. I think sometimes they kind of get lost in the commotion between a lot of the Chinese knives and American-made knives that are also all very good in terms of quality and fit and finish. I mean, you have your bad apples everywhere, but I have seen a lot of good stuff coming out of MKM and Viper recently that I've been very happy with. And this is another really good example of that. And anytime you can tie in Mr. Jesper VOX into the equation, it only gets better. It truly only gets better. So there you go, guys. That is the MKM Macro, a Caviso exclusive. They are live now. Hop on and pick yourself one up if it's something that grabs your attention. Let me know what you think of these two guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.